Hello people of the internet world, welcome to our channel. Today is the first video that we'll be showing of how can you calibrate a tasty shot of espresso, not one, not two, but 5 minutes. So calibration is very important in every barista journey. The benefit of watching this video is because from my experience in this coffee industry, I have figured out 3 simple steps in calibrating your coffee in 5 minutes. These steps will help you to not only fast and reliable, but also it reduces wastages and at the same time it builds confidence in yourself as a barista when you are approaching calibration. The first step is we need to look at flow rate. So what is flow rate? Flow rate is the speed of the espresso coming out from the portafilter spout. How can we use visually to determine it is we look at time. Time will be our guideline. A recommended time for your espresso is from 26 seconds to 33 seconds of coffee extraction. If your espresso is too fast, it will result in your espresso being too thin body, you will taste very flat. Also, you will have a very papery sour finish, which is unpleasant. Whereas, if your coffee extraction is too slow, it will have a result of very dry and astringent finish, and the sweetness is unbalanced. So an ideal extraction is when your flow is like a honey dripping out. That kind of extraction gives you a better sweetness, a balanced body, and a smooth, clean finish, which doesn't make your face doing that. So the second step that we need to take into consideration is ratio. What is ratio? Ratio is like your recipe. So you need to understand what is your recipe for your espresso. There are a few different recipes that we can take into reference. The ones that we recommended is 1:1 ratio. So what is 1:1 is you put 18 grams of ground coffee and you extract 18 grams of liquid espresso out. So that is 1:1. So why do we use a 1:1 ratio? Is because that recipe allows us to maximize the sweetness that we want in our coffee and reduce the bitterness that is found in more developed roasting. And thus, when you are using a more developed roast profile, you will want a shorter ratio to minimize the bitterness and astringency at the back. In other words, if you are using a 1:2 ratio, you would want the acidity of the coffee to come out, and thus you need to extract longer in order to present the full spectrum. Because if you are using a shorter ratio for light roasted coffee, the acidity of the coffee will spike, which will affect your tasting experience, and thus we need to extract longer to balance the acidity that is found in single origin coffees. So the most and final last step, the most important and final step of this exercise is taste your coffee. After we have done the step number 1, flow rate, and second, step number 2, ratio, in theory you are able to get a balanced espresso shot. Not the best, but it should be good to go. If you like to add a little bit of something, example, your coffee is tasting too sour, a little bit sour, you would like to reduce the acidity, you can play with dosage. Either minimize 0.5 of the coffee grams that you are using, or you can extract a little bit longer or shorter by 0.5. One of the most important key lessons that we can learn is you only want to change one variable at a time. A lot of people have the problem of calibration is because they change many or more than one factor during their calibration, which will result in not only high wastages, but also you're wasting a lot of time. and thus only change one variable. That is the key point. Now, with these 3 basic steps, you should be able to produce a simple, fast, and reliable, tasty, good, balanced espresso shot.